The tooth fairy at our house is not very good. How many times has she forgotten?
2, 3, I don't know. Well, she forgot
Step
bins.
up your game, tooth fairy. You're awful.
Yeah, she forgot bins. She forgot bins.
Hey there. What did the tooth fairy bring you?
Lots of check marks. And they're like
5 check marks. Guys, if y'all don't know what this is, go watch our video. I'll link it right here about our check mark system because it's amazing. You need to have the check mark system in your house.
Yeah, check mark. One check mark is like $1.
That's right.
I got a quarter.
A quarter and a rose. Somebody was trying to make up for something, right? Yeah. The tooth fairy failed, and you had to go lay back down in your bed and pretend to be asleep again. All right. Anybody out there who's ever felt like a major mom fail? Guys, my kid just came down the stairs this morning crying because I had forgotten that she lost her tooth last night. And that's not even the first time it's happened. It's like the 3rd time in 6 months that it's happened. You guys. Gabe is starting his math on the computer. And I let them sit like wherever they want to with that in the house. It's nice to have a change of scenery, isn't it? When you're doing the next subject with school.
Where's the red button? Where's the red
And Adeline is fixing a button on her duvet. We'll just call this home ec. I think it's loading.
win on this?
Yeah, I think click the little box for the Adobe Flash Player. Sometimes, yeah, click it. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes life schooling and unschooling, people don't understand what that is, but this is basically like you have to consider the things that are going on in your day that your kids are learning from naturally. Like, oh, Mom, my button fell off my duvet cover. Teach me to sew on a button. Or in this case, she's already learned and she's doing it. She's practicing on her own. And this is a skill that everybody needs to have. Everybody should know how to sew on a button, right? Okay, you need help?
I press the red thing and it goes on that.
Oh, it just says, do you want to run Flash Player? So I had to click allow. So Gabriel's kind of our math whiz. He is, what are you, 1st grade this year? And you're doing 3rd grade math, just doing it slowly at a slow pace because he's so far ahead. But I don't say that because all my kids are super far ahead. Like this, some things your kids are going to be ahead in, and then some things your kids are going to be what people would consider behind in. Gabriel doesn't read very well yet, but that's because I don't force him to learn something he's not quite ready for. She's knotting it up. All finished.
It's easy to do that. It's 19.
Okay. I know you think this lesson's too easy because it comes easy to your brain. Just go through it, and then probably the next lesson will be more challenging, okay?
Yes. I can't wait for number 22. I'm so close to number 22. That's my next bonus round.
Cool. Did it! You fixed something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You did so good.
Just like the other one.
You're right. You did awesome. Yeah. So in Charlotte Mason, we do what's called handicrafts. And really what Adeline just did with repairing her own duvet cover, that's kind of a handicraft. It's a lot different than just regular crafts. So you know how in regular school kids will make all these cute little crafts. I love those, but they don't have a lot of purpose. They end up in a box of keepsakes. When kids learn to do something that's actually functional, like they make something they can use or they make something their family can use and it's like a legitimate thing, it is a completely different level for them of learning to work with their hands and learning to make something that's useful, gives them so much value. So that's a really cool element, I think, to Charlotte Mason education is that kids are people already and they can already do things that make a substantial contribution to their family, and just giving them that value and that sense of responsibility is really cool. So while we were doing language arts, Gabriel had the word girl on a flashcard and he thought it was the same as grilled cheese. So I showed him the difference between the word girl and grilled and grill, and we discussed that. And now, instead of continuing with his lesson, we're just taking a second because he was going to do some dictation anyways today, or copy work. So we're taking a second to stop, and he's copying the sentence, I like grilled cheese, because he does love grilled cheese, and he asked me about the word, and because he asked, he's gonna remember probably much better how to spell these words than he will what's on the lesson for today. When a kid asks something, it is stored in a different place in their memory. Scientists have proven that this is true. I'm not making this up, guys.
I actually want to write these.
Yeah, you could do that. So when a kid wants to do something and when they ask questions to pursue helping them find the answers to those questions, it gets stored in a different place in their brain. So yes, we have a plan when we're schooling. We don't totally unschool, but when we're schooling, we always stop and follow the trail that they want to follow if they're really interested in something. Okay, I am going to dictate to you now the entire sentence. Do you remember what a sentence starts with? A capital letter, and it ends with punctuation, right? So listen for if it is a sentence that needs a period or a question mark or maybe an exclamation point. Here's the sentence. Are you ready?
Yes.
I am glad you trust me.
Okay.
I am glad you trust me. No, capital letter, remember.
Ah,
It's
yes.
okay. It takes practice. And when you write I, it's always capital actually, even if it doesn't come at the beginning of your sentence. The word I is always going to be capital. Yes, it's replacing.
Like this.
So Charlotte Mason uses dictation and copywork to achieve a lot of things in a really short amount of time. It's like working smarter instead of harder. So you're working on the child's spelling, their penmanship, their grammar, and giving them a living idea to write. So obviously Gabriel can't write very difficult words yet. It may be something as simple as a sentence that says, I am glad you trust me. So that trust between a parent and a child. And no, I'm not coming up with this on my own. We use a curriculum called The Good and the Beautiful, and this is all given to me in here. I think it was the other lesson right here. Now, when the kids are older, my older kids, when they're doing copy work and dictation from me, that is going to be possibly scriptures, Shakespeare, ideas that are rich, that are just that. They're ideas that the kids can chew on and like mull over in their mind and form relationships with people in history and with moral character and ideas about integrity and things like that. So it's just this beautiful thing that I feel like you can take things that are very simple and achieve a lot of things. You don't have to have a subject for every single thing that you're teaching your kid. You're going to combine these things with Charlotte Mason, and I love that so much. This was Gabriel's reader that he had to read to me today, and I love The Good and the Beautiful readers, how they have these, like I said, living ideas in the pages, even with these really simple words that he's able to read at this stage. Like on this page, it's this little girl is crying clearly because she feels left out. Like nobody wants to play with her. So we stopped after he read that book and we discussed that. And we said, you know, have you ever felt like that before? Have you ever seen another kid that felt like that before? What could you do if you see a kid that feels left out? So it's, you know, not just reading kind of pointless little stories, but reading stories that actually have some meat to them. So he can now for the rest of the day, that's going to be in the back of his mind and kind of be rolling over, like, how should I act whenever somebody feels left out or when someone needs a friend? It's just living ideas. That's the best way that I know how to explain it. So one method I use from the unschooling method is strewing. If you've never heard of that, strewing is basically going around your house, finding books and other materials that might pique your kids' interest to lead them to do some independent study, and you kind of strew them. You just place them in areas of your house where your kids are going to find them. Sometimes I'll put them on the table like this. Sometimes I'll put them on their bed or in the car, in the pockets in front of their seats. So I basically just went through and grabbed some materials that they haven't pulled out in a while, like a coloring book where they learn about species of birds. I laid out their coloring pencils for them. Adeline's read aloud that she kind of put to the side, Little Women. I've got some nature guides here. I've got Ben's new action Bible that he hasn't read in a few days. Parts of speech poster that I have from the dollar store. These placemats. I'll link a lot of these items down below that we like to use. But the idea of this is not to force feed your kids everything that they're learning, because like I said, the concept behind unschooling is that your kids store information in their brain differently when they are the ones pursuing that information, when they are asking questions. It is a teaching moment unlike any other, or when they are interested in something. So if your kids are interested in something, let them study it. So when my kids come to this table, I'm not gonna say, I want Benjamin to do this, I want Adeline to do this. There's times when I do that in our homeschool, but a lot of times I really like to just let them choose. I like to say, okay, pick what you wanna study. Choose something. It's your choice. And when they choose it, it's a completely different experience for them. That doesn't mean that I'm not like, okay, it's time for you to learn your multiplication tables because you don't know them yet. Yes, you know, like I have a mixture, and I think some people do very hardcore unschooling. That's not us, but I love the concepts behind unschooling. They are so valuable. And just a little tidbit for you. Studies have been done that show, these are real studies, that show that children with no formal education in math can actually catch up in a matter of a couple of months when they're at an 8th grade level. When they're at that age and their brains are developed and ready to handle the information, they can like catch up. It's kind of amazing for math, for all the subjects. It's amazing how when we allow a child who has a brain that's developed enough to handle the information, go and get that information themselves, it happens very quickly, seamlessly. Just a little food for thought. Let's not force feed our kids all the time. If we're having to force feed them information, we may need to take a step back and ask why. Are they not ready for it yet? Is there some character issue there that they just don't want to apply themselves, or are they not ready for it yet? Would they rather be studying the solar system? You know, like would they rather be studying something they're genuinely interested in because that may be worth pursuing? It may be a better use of our time and probably give them a better impression of what education is, right? Well, Adeline is drawing a map of her neighborhood. And another thing that Charlotte Mason does is combines geography into language arts, which is a really beautiful, seamless connection. I love the way it's combined. It makes so much more sense to me to do them together instead of separately. And we've really loved this about this curriculum. So also geography is a really good lead-in usually to history. It just comes really naturally. And then sometimes history is a good lead into science, which you may have heard of unit study before. We've never done unit study completely, but I think studying what unit study is very helpful for your homeschool. It's very neat to think of all the subjects as being interrelated and connected. And sometimes it can feel unnatural to do a unit study, in my opinion, to make everything fit and force it together. But if you're naturally and organically allowing that flow to happen, it makes perfect sense. So this year we did unschooling. We did not buy a curriculum for history or for science, but it's really worked out beautifully. We used a podcast called Same Page Podcast to do with our morning time, and it has some poetry, it has some Shakespeare, scripture, and it has a president of the week. So I thought that was perfect for this year because I wanted to study American history a little bit this year. So we've been studying one president a week, and it's really been fascinating to hear just a little snippet on the podcast each week, and that will lead us into studying about what was going on in the world in different places during that time in history, and also what inventions were taking place in science, what discoveries were taking place. It's just fascinating, and we could even connect that with the composers that we're studying and the artists, and just making those connections is really cool. So another thing that I love about Charlotte Mason is keeping a book of centuries and writing down on each 100 years, like you can have 1 page or 2 pages for each 100 years, writing down the famous people that you're learning about that were all alive at the same time, and finding out, did they meet? Were they in the same place of the world, or did they never meet each other? You know, it's fascinating, and it really helps history and geography and science to all kind of start weaving together in your child's mind, and in my mind too, honestly, and just making these connections. It helps it stick. Adeline, how did you just learn to remember the north, east, south, west order on the compass?
Never eat soggy waffles.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, Benjamin, why is your dirty foot on the table? Dude. Okay, Benjamin's awesome at spelling, so when he has spelling words or drills in his book, I quiz him first, and I don't make him do them if he can spell the words. Isn't that right, Ben? Because ain't nobody got time for that. That's useless. All right, spell engine.
E-N-G-I-N-E.
Spell neighbor.
N-E-I-G-H-B-O-R.
Good. Spell oboe.
Hobo.
Oboe.
O-B-O. O-B-O-E.
There you go.
Yeah.
Spell cello.
C-E-L-L-O.
Okay, public speaking practice. Go.
The continent of Asia is made up of 48 countries. Africa has over 50 countries. Australia has 1 country. The country of Australia is the continent of Australia. But just because this continent has only 1 country does not mean that Australia is not a fascinating, diverse place.
That was awesome. Good job. Would you rather never have to do dishes again or never have to do laundry again? Thanks so much for watching, guys.
Yes, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for new episodes.
Every Wednesday and Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.